Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Great Reset. There was some things I didn't touch on in yesterday's video, and I'm going to list it as an XRP video so you all get the notifications. So, alternative take on the SVB collapse and its relationship to the World Economic Forum BIS agenda. Now, this is very big. And yesterday in that video, I said it just looks too coincidental. Like this is tied to the World Economic Forum somehow, some way. It's been a crazy few days for the banking industry, specifically for Silicon Valley Bank and its shareholders, as it went from supposedly stable and solvent to closed down by the regulators in the space of just over 24 hours. And it appears the domino effect has begun already, with Signature Bank in New York closed by regulators, citing systemic risk. Anyone who thinks that the SVB collapse was a coincidence has not been paying attention to the details. The hidden hands at work have left their fingerprints all over this one. And when it comes to this amount of money, there are no coincidences. Meet Joseph Gentile, an executive at SV Bank. Do you know where Joseph Gentile worked before he was at Silicon Valley Bank? He was the chief financial officer at Lehman Brothers, which was the largest bank to crash in U.S. history. That's one hell of a coincidence. But it gets even worse. Where do you think he worked before Lehman Brothers? Do you remember a company named Enron? Enron was an energy company based in Houston, Texas, and a Wall Street darling in the 90s. Do you remember Enron getting shut down in late 2001? Enron was the biggest bankruptcy in U.S. history and the biggest audit failure. The founder and CEO were sentenced to 24 years in prison. It just so happens Joseph Gentile was at the helm of all three companies before they went to the wall. And unlike his colleagues, he has never faced justice. The mainstream media wants you to believe that this is just a coincidence, but there are no coincidences. This should be all over the mainstream media news right now. This should be the biggest story running, but yet it's not. Just like FTX fell at a specific time for a reason, I believe SVB fell at a specific time for a reason, to usher in regulations right ahead of a CBDC. This is all part of Biden and the World Economic Forum to consolidate banks and switch to a digital currency. Silicon Valley Bank really operated like a hedge fund. They had less than 10% of their money FDIC insured. Why are they even being treated like a bank? Now, in yesterday's video, I talked about that consolidation because it was easy to see it. You think about it, you're going to have a handful of big banks in the future. The same way you're going to have just a handful of cryptocurrencies in the future. Want to know why the banking system is crashing and all these new laws and classifications for crypto? Maybe to implement government's new 24/7 payment system, FedNow. Is this the US version of a CBDC? It absolutely is, but they're trying to downplay it as it not being a CBDC. But we know better because we're in crypto. And we have opened our eyes to all of this, all of what's going on around us. But yet some people, they're still asleep. They don't understand what's going on. The awakening, the great reset in the world. And I believe we are at that crossroads right now. You know, some people are awake, they see it happening. Other people, they go through their daily routine. They get up, they go to work. Maybe they come home, they go out to a movie or go out to dinner and wake up tomorrow and do the same thing with no clue on what's coming. And it's because the mainstream media news keeps their eyes closed. Did this 1981 movie, Early Warning, try to warn us about the Great Reset, New World Order agenda? It's eerily prophetic about the events we're currently living through. Now, I watched this movie around Halloween of last year. A lot of you said, you got to check this movie out, so I did. And it does really look like what we're living through right now. But there's other movies as well, and there's even books about what's coming. Yet people still don't understand it. Miscalculations are going to get us in a direct shootout war with Russia. Some in the US government seem to want that. Now, it's all about that drone. That's what they're talking about on the mainstream media news. And I believe these things are set up to happen at specific times, just to distract people, keep their eyes looking over here while they're doing this over there. Anti-woke campaign targets Biden ahead of veto to save his ESG rule for 401ks. And again, people don't understand their 401ks in any way. They need to go and make sure where their money is, what it's being tied to. But again, people, they go to work, they invest in their 401k, and they go on with life as usual. People need to wake up. At some point, we're going to see 401ks being wiped out as well. It's just a matter of time. You crazy tinfoil hat people, a rule that would eliminate over 96% of the products today. Department of Energy just moved to ban nearly all gas stoves. Now, when I first seen this, I was like, come on, gas stoves? But then I gave it some thought and I said, it's not just going to stop at gas stoves. It's going to go into gas furnaces that heats people's houses. They're going to have to convert to a new heating source. Then it'll be gas dryers. People won't be able to dry their clothes. They'll have to come up with a different dryer. Kind of like I said in yesterday's videos. You're going to have to make changes, expensive changes, and they're going to start to price you out of certain things. So what happens next? You start to rent these items. Remember, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. When your government is a Marxist, corrupt, World Economic Forum, CCP owned, open borders, free shit for all, fixated regime. Now, open borders is also tied to the World Economic Forum. Do you know, outside of crypto, I hear people say all the time, they need to close that southern border already. Why is this president not closing that southern border? But they don't look beyond that. You got to look at whose agenda this actually is. And it ties right back to the World Economic Forum. That's why that U.S. border is going to stay open until either we get a new president or until the Great Reset happens. This is why we say poverty is a political choice, because we have the data that poverty prevention policies work. Millions of children fell back into poverty once these policies expired. This is talking about universal basic income. And they want to make it not just for people who have children, but everybody will be eligible for a universal basic monthly income. And I believe they're pushing us towards that little by little. And a lot of people like that, people that don't know any better, because they're out there saying, oh, well, I could just stay home and do whatever I want all day and the government will pay me. But then they'll realize once they go online and say something the government doesn't like and the government shuts their money off, that's when this will make sense to them. And a lot of people are fearing that their jobs will be gone through AI. I talked about this multiple times on this channel, but now Californians are starting to realize that AI could actually put them out of work at some point, hence the need for the universal basic monthly income. Now, I don't think AI is going to put everybody out of work, but I think it's going to put some people out of work as things start going automated in the future. And certain cryptocurrencies are going to be tied directly to that as well. We're crypto investors. We're investing in technology of the future. I say it all the time on this channel because it's not hard to see it. I'm never going to sell any of my crypto because I know that's my one chance to get financial freedom. I don't think we're going to be cashing out into US dollars when that time comes. I think the US dollar will be gone by then. Most likely we'll have to cash out into gold or whatever the next currency is. But we still have time to see what happens with that. Collins, Fauci, Gates, Who? World Economic Forum, Biden, MSM, Maddow, etc. To them, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of many. They totally plan to depopulate the earth of humans. Gene Simmons of KISS is with them. Gene Simmons stated, "If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy." Let me tell you something. Over time, I seen actors who I thought were totally against the system. Rock stars who I thought were totally against the establishment. You know, these are the coolest guys in the world. All of a sudden, you start to realize they're all part of the same agenda. They're all tied to those globalist elites. They're all working against me and you. You notice it by what the things that they say. But that's how society is changing. You know, probably years ago, you probably wouldn't even have watched half the movies you watched if you realized how these people actually thought. You know, you go see a movie and this guy's like the coolest guy on the screen, but then in real life, he's the biggest jerk of them all. This battle transcends race, religion, national origin. These World Economic Forum demons are trying to depopulate 95% of the world's population. That's just about all of us. A total population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% decline from present levels, would be ideal. Ted Turner said that. You know, we know they're trying to depopulate us. We know that they want that bottleneck to happen at some point. And yet people still want to go out there and get that vax or to get the latest booster that they push out through the pharmaceutical companies. And I still, every day, try to wake people up outside of crypto as well. And they think you're crazy. But yet, it's all out there for them to see. That's the part I don't understand. Executive order on reducing gun violence and making our communities safe. Now, I'm all about cutting down gun violence. I'm all about certain people definitely should not have a gun. Let's face it. But when they try to take people's guns away from them, I'm talking about law abiding citizens. What do you think happens next? Because criminals are still out there with guns. How do you protect your family from the guy who shows up with the gun when you don't have one? But again, I believe that's tied to the World Economic Forum as well. I believe a lot of the violence we see throughout the world right now is all controlled by a handful of elitists. I believe the World Economic Forum is tied to it. I definitely believe George Soros his hands are in all of it. Same thing with Gates. But people really do need to wake up. That's why I do these videos. I want to show you what's going on throughout the world. I want to show you, you know, what's happening with this and with that before it's too late. CBDCs are right around the corner. Every country is getting ready to roll one out, including the United States. But again, I want to know what you think we can do to get ahead of a CBDC. Maybe enrich ourselves and maybe our lives will be different under the CBDC. Let me know in the comments section down below. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you watching my videos. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.